Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. So we've done it to death, this whole, intersex fighters at the Women's Olympic boxing tournament and so on and so forth. I ain't going to go down that route again because I did, I think, 4 videos talking about this subject, about, women fighters. But the issue with the 2 intersex or DSD fighters. But I thought I'd do a video just to kind of shed some light over what this actually means, because I've been reading a load of stuff, papers from medical papers, and I thought I'd try and find one that perfectly summarizes it without using too much, too much sort of highfalutin fancy words, too much industry vernacular. I thought I'd just try and find one that sums it up relatively concisely so that we can all understand it. Okay, what is DSD? Okay, what is intersex? What does it mean? And I came across this little article, one of the many that I looked at. It's via the NHS, National Health Service in Britain, and I'm going to read it to you just so that we know, we have a decent overview of what exactly this topic means. Okay, what it actually means, what it means to be somebody born with both male and female physiological characteristics. Okay, it's not completely comprehensive because it is a relatively short article, but nevertheless, if you were wondering, it will give you a pretty good overview. Okay. So it says, what are the differences in sex development? The term differences in sex development, or DSD, is used to refer to a wide range of different scenarios, with the NHS describing it as a group of rare conditions involving genes, hormones, reproductive organs, including genitals, which means a person's sex development is different to most other people's. Individuals can either have sex chromosomes generally linked with being female, XX chromosomes, or usually associated with being a man, XY chromosomes, yet have reproductive organs and genitals that may look different. The NHS states that a person may have a womb and may also have testicles inside their body. Sometimes the testicles might not work properly, sometimes they do. It adds, some people with a very rare type of DSD have both ovarian and testicular tissue, sometimes one ovary and one testes. Their genitals may appear female or male or could look different from either. Okay, so a person may have a womb and may also have testicles inside their body. Sometimes the testicles might not work. Yeah, we just covered that bit. Okay, so there's a guy called Klaus Gravholt, who's a professor of genetic endocrinology, and he said it's impossible to state everyone with a Y chromosome is a male and everyone with an X chromosome is a female. Professor Gravholt, who is based at Aarhus University in Denmark and works with patients who have differences in sex development, added, if I showed you pictures of my patients without any clothes on, you would say, well, these are females that I'm looking at. But in fact, they actually have a Y chromosome. And so it's really coming back to what is sex. Is sex something you can see out of the chromosomes? No, it's not. Is sex something that you can see depending on which hormone, estrogen or testosterone, you preferentially produce? No, it's not. Sex is much more complicated. Now, we are dealing with a very, very small amount of people that fall into this category that the professor's talking about. Okay, very, very small. But nevertheless, they exist. And it would seem that both these fighters and the Olympics fall, somewhere into this category. We don't exactly know where because their personal, their personal physiological details haven't been released to the public. Okay, so what do differences in sex development, when do differences in sex development emerge? People generally find out they have a difference in sex development around when they are born or once they become a teenager. So once puberty kicks in, that's when the different characteristics become prominent or become visible. Professor Gravholt explained the last patient he had diagnosed was a woman in her early 30s who had sought help as she could not get pregnant. She had a normal vagina, a normal external female appearance, but did not have a uterus. And she also produced a lot of testosterone in her two testes, okay, which were placed at the same place as the ovaries. So she had a vagina, but where the ovaries were meant to be, there were parabolics, you know, to put it bluntly. Her experience demonstrates how complicated differences in sex development are, explaining the patient was devastated when he told her that she could not get pregnant due to not having a uterus. She didn't even know this. How would she? Does a woman with XY chromosomes have periods, and can she have children? Professor Gravholt explains around half of the patients he sees do not have a uterus, so they can't carry a child through a pregnancy, while the other half have a uterus but do not produce eggs. Okay, so we really are talking about a complete crossover of male and female here, you know, but it can be any sort of permutation of it. These women would not have periods unless they are given sex hormones, he explained, adding that he has never encountered or heard of a woman with an XY chromosome who can have children. All right. I repeat that. He has never encountered or heard of a woman with an XY chromosome who can have children. That would, I believe, both of the fighters in the Olympics have XY chromosomes, so they are going to remain childless. Now, you know, this kind of, I picked bits and pieces out of these things that I read to try and give us a good overview, okay? But again, I repeat, it's not comprehensive. And there are just so many different versions of it, you know, that it's so Imane Khelif and Yu-Ting, who are the two fighters at the Olympics, again, they're not trans people, you know, and I think in early on in one of my videos, I made references to how they could be trans people. In fact, they're not. I didn't check on that, and my bad. But they're not trans people, definitely not. But they do fall in somewhere into this gamut of intersex variations. Okay, and the issue with these two women, as I've said before in my previous videos, and as people have been going on and on about, is do they have an unfair advantage over females? And at the very least, there is a realistic possibility that they do, all right, because of their physiology and the way their bodies are made up. It's not their fault. People shouldn't give them any heat, any abuse over it, because they were just born that way, you know, and we're all born with, you know, some of us are tall, short, fat, thin, you know, some of us are strong, some of us are weak. It's the hand we're dealt. So there is still that issue. There is still, to me personally, there is still that big cloud over this issue. Were they given unfair advantages over people who are, without question, you know, fully biological females? And I think that's all that stuff that I've just read out. That should help you sort of form an opinion over what your view is on this subject. Okay, so I hope this has been kind of helpful, you know, maybe shed a bit of light where previously you were a little bit, you had it fuzzy yet, because I did as well to start with. Because to start with, you know, we didn't really know Imane Khelif and Yu-Ting. We didn't know much about them, and even from the start, I thought, well, they're not trans, but you know, I was like most other people. I'm not medically trained, and therefore it's fair to say that there's a fair bit of ignorance, you know, regarding what DSD is and what intersex is. I mean, there were some people in the comments saying they're not DSD. No, they're not. There's no evidence to suggest they're DSD. That's a lot of bollocks. I mean, there's two sides that can be as ignorant as each other here, and both were. Okay, some completely sided with the pro athlete, complete denial that there may be anything untoward here or anything giving them an unfair advantage. And on the other side, you had, well, they're men, they shouldn't be allowed anymore. You know, no, as usual in life, probably the truth is somewhere in the middle, roughly, or, you know, a grey area. So I hope that's given you, shed a bit of light. It's all a learning curve, certainly was for me. And yeah, let me know what you think. And of course, as always, comments below. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button as well. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Much love. I'll get you later. Bye for now.